Hey everybody, welcome to episode 29 of the AskDAP show, where we answer your Volkswagen and Audi questions. On this episode, we talk about the best bang for the buck for power out of your Mark 7, engine lights, airbag lights, and electromechanical power steering.
Jake B via Facebook. Hi there, I have a 2006 Jetta GLI. I recently started experiencing an issue. When I turn on the car, the battery light stays on until I start moving, and occasionally the power steering light comes on before I move the car and I lose power steering. But if I rev the car a couple times, my power steering comes back and the light goes out. I know that there's no power steering pump and it's an electric power steering motor or something like that. I was just wondering if you've ever seen this problem or what it could be. I'd really appreciate if you could get back to me. I'm a big fan and I apologize if this is hard to understand.
Okay, so Jake, the issue you're experiencing, originally when I read it, I didn't realize the battery light was coming on, and I thought we were going to be talking about power steering. But the fact that your battery light is coming on, for anybody who's not familiar, most current model VWs do not have a regular power steering, which would be a belt-driven power steering pump that's hydraulic. It then sends fluid into the steering rack, which gives it power steering. They have electromechanical power steering, which is basically an electric motor that mounts to the steering rack that allows the vehicle to turn and gives it power assist. If you have a battery problem in this situation, it sounds like most likely you have an alternator problem. And what you're going to want to do is start by checking the battery, make sure that you have a good battery voltage or good battery in general, and then move to the charging system to check to see if the charging system is charging properly. What it sounds like is happening is it's sporadically losing its ability to charge, and then eventually will kick back on, which is why your power steering comes back on. Really important to me, this sounds like a pretty important potential safety hazard, so you definitely want to get this addressed as soon as possible. Most dealers actually have a battery and charging system tester, so you may want to just reach out to them and say, hey, do you guys do battery checks? You know, pay them the amount to do a battery test on your vehicle and move on from there. Or you can go to AutoZone, and I think they actually do the battery test and charging system test for free.
Oscar C via Facebook says, good afternoon. Sorry to reach out to you guys, but I have a question. I bought a cutoff valve from you guys back in October or November for a 2011 CC. I live in the Midwest, and due to the weather, I just now changed the part. Now my check engine light has not gone off, and when I took off the old valve, I noticed it was wet from the inside. I noticed that the connector has a streamline of oil. I was wondering if it's supposed to have it or not. I've attached a video to show what I'm talking about. Hope you guys can help me, and thank you for everything in advance.
Okay, Oscar, first of all, thank you so much for the purchase. Obviously, I appreciate it very much. Everybody, obviously, at the store appreciates it very much. In regards to your oil issue on the diverter valve, it's pretty normal because oil is a byproduct. Oil in the charge pipes is generally a pretty common thing, at least in moderate quantities. You know, if you have oil pooling inside your boost pipes, then you have a problem if it's a significant amount. But what happens is some oil will seep past the turbo seal and get into the intake track, and then it will go through the diverter valve. As some of them seem to, this seems to be a pretty common thing. What's happening is the oil is getting through the diverter valve and actually going in through the electrical parts of that and going through the connector plug. So it's pretty normal. The newer ones should probably be less common when they're new to do that. I don't know if that was specifically to a diaphragm or piston style one having that issue, but again, that's a pretty normal thing for you to find. Okay, so generally what's going to happen when you have a check engine light, it's not going to ever erase itself. It may actually turn off the light potentially, but the faults will always stay stored in the ECM of the vehicle. So what you're going to want to do is erase them and then determine if you still have something else going on, because obviously maybe the diverter valve wasn't your issue in the first place and the check engine light's still on because you still have the same problem that persists even after replacing the valve. So you are going to want to erase that and then determine what if you still have any issues.
A user on Reddit says, I have a stock Mark 7 and want to upgrade the performance. What's the most bang for my buck?
So where to start with a Mark 7? Obviously we have a ton of stuff around Mark 7s. We haven't done a lot about specific software tunes and stuff like that. We do have a dyno that was on our Mark 7 when we went to Stage 1 Plus. We are planning to do a Stage 2 dyno at some point, but it just keeps getting pushed to the back burner. So the best place to start with any Mark 7 is going to be a tune or something of that nature, whether it be an actual software tune or something like a JB1 module. That's always going to be the best bang for the buck. That will give you increased boost pressures along with a bunch of other settings that are changed to give you the most power that you can get out of the vehicle. Stage 1 Plus, I believe, is somewhere around, I think 80 or 90 horsepower and around 100 pound-foot of torque. And the JB1s are going to be a little bit less than that, but a similar increase in power, especially when it comes to dollar per horsepower. No question, tunes are always going to be the best place to start. We're actually going to put out some information about the Uniconnect software, which gives you or Uniconnect cable, which allows you to flash your own software at your house if you want to choose to do that. We'll put a link to the Uniconnect and then look forward to a video coming soon on the Uniconnect software and the cable.
Titto Thomas via YouTube says, I got an 07 VW Jetta. I changed my bumper with a local mechanic. Since after that, I got my airbag light and the engine light on. When I checked with AutoZone, they were not able to find any codes. What could be their reason? Could you please tell me how I can find the problem?
Okay, so Tito, when you have a check engine light and airbag light after taking off the bumper, the only things that I could think of is if you leave the key on while you're doing a job like that, and then you unplug sensors, it could cause lights. When it comes to the check engine light, I can't really think of a sensor off the top of my head that you would have unplugged that would cause the check engine light. In regards to the airbag light, there's crash sensors in the front, so maybe if you unplugged one of the crash sensors while you were doing that, it definitely would have set a light if you had the key on, no question. The important thing to note is a lot of times AutoZone scanners only scan the engine control module, and a lot of generic scanners don't have access to the airbag module, and under no circumstance will an airbag fault clear ever. Engine lights, what you can do is take the battery cables off and a lot of times hold them together, and that will actually erase the faults if you do that for a while. Airbag lights will never ever clear themselves under any circumstance, even if you take the cables off the battery and all that stuff. You can take it off for 100 years. The fault is not going to leave the airbag module because it is a safety system. So you're going to need either someone with a VAGCOM or a dealer to clear that airbag fault for you, but obviously determining if it even came from something you did, because generally the airbag sensors are not on the bumper themselves, they're on the frame rails, which means you would have had to done something kind of a little bit different while you were taking that bumper off to make that light happen. Thank you for watching episode 29 of the AskDAP show, where we answer your Volkswagen and Audi questions. If you think we missed anything or have anything to add to the question answered, be sure to leave it in the comments below.